Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy. Today I'm going to do a real quick review here for us, and I'm going to review the Ys Age of Heroes core rulebook. Little history real fast, just so you know. It comes from Ys, produced by Promethean Books using a proprietary game system of their own device uh, called Promethean. It's pretty good. What I've read of it so far has been very, very good. Um, it's a real easy read. It was published in 2024 uh, and has been followed on. They just released a Trails of Destiny game as well, using the same system with some modifications to uh, apply the ornament system and stuff from the Trails games. A little bit different systematically, but the core of it is the same. So that being said, what is Ys? If you're not familiar with Ys, Ys is a video game series that came out originally in 1988. Uh, it was a PCS 008 I think is what it came out on. Was ported to the MSX system in Japan. I don't believe the original game ever came out in America. It has since come out in America in several iterations. You can purchase it. Even today, you can purchase it on GOG if you're wanting to see the video games. The game itself, Age of Heroes, takes place about 50 years after the second game, after the events that take place around Adol Christensen, who is the main character in the first two games. He is the primary driver of the story for Ys. Other characters have since come along. If you played the later Ys games, particularly the newer ones, Ys, I've been playing a lot of Ys 7, 8. I haven't gotten all the way up to 10 yet. Ys games are actually really fun. So if you've never played them, Ys is a lot of fun as a video game. But as a role playing game, I wasn't sure what I was getting into until I started reading. So we talk a little bit about the game here. So the Promethean system uses what they call a action die, which is a d20, and then they use a bonus dice system based on your skills and talents. And what's going to happen with those dice is they're going to start as d10s, and they are going to adjust from there based on uh, difficulties and challenges and things like that you face. It basically die steps up to a D100, which is the highest die type you can get, all the way down to a D4, which is the lowest die type you can get. Anytime the game tells you to add a bonus in this game, you will be adding dice. The difficulty, standard difficulty, is between 15 and 20. Um, and you can spectacularly succeed, spectacularly fail as normal. This game also uses exploding dice, which they call burst dice. If you roll the highest number on a die, you get to pick it up, roll it again, add it to the result. You do this once for one die. And the way that it's going to work is, or per die, and the way it's going to work is it's going to keep going as long as that die rolls the maximum. So burst dice are pretty simple. If you've ever played World of Darkness, if you ever played Star Wars D6, some other games that use exploding dice, Legend of Five Rings 7 Saga, 7C, not Saga, on video games here. Um, that being said, Ys uses a very simple system, though, uh, that really, when you look at the character sheet, and I'll show you one here in a second, it seems like it's going to be very complicated because it seems like there's a lot of moving parts, but it's actually fairly simple. The combat section in this book is only a couple of pages, it's only about 5 or 6 pages. The adventuring is another 5 or 6 pages. A majority of this book is given over to the world of Elandra, uh, which is where Ys is set, and also given over to classes, origins, and uh, skills and talents. So this book is very heavy on the lore. Um, that being said, let me talk about how you create a character. Creating characters in this game is fairly simplistic as well. There's nothing really complicated with the characteristics in this game, or characters in this game. The first thing you do is you can choose a background. Uh, Backgrounds are the different races or different cultures of Elandra. Uh, I I don't know the number offhand. I think there's six or eight, uh, but they are varied. If you played Ys, you run into the different ones. They kind of splat them all together from all the different games. and it's going to have different effects on you. It can affect your initial ability scores, defining starting traits, such as health, durability, vigor, and mana. So that's the first thing you do before you ever touch ability scores. You're going to have your background. You need to know where you're from, what race you belong to. My computer does not stop doing that. I'm sorry, guys. Just decided to switch my desktop environment on me there for a second. The next step, of course, you're going to roll your ability scores. Ability scores are rolled by doing 3d8, assigning as you will. And the way that it works is you get a burst dice in this, but only one of your dice can burst no matter how many H you roll. So you're only going to be able to burst one die. And again, it follows the same rules. If it bursts multiple times, it bursts multiple times. If you have a 15 or greater, it will add bonus dice to any roll tied to that attribute. The core attributes in this game are going to be strength, stamina, agility, speed, soul, empathy, memory, reason, and resolve. Corruption is an optional statistic that can be used. I've not read a ton into how corruption works yet, but I was more concerned getting down the core system. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to select your class. This is a class-based game. They have two types of classes. They have what are called basic classes and what are called elite classes. The base classes are kind of your standard archetypes. You've got your priest, you've got your thief, your sword master, fighters, that kind of stuff. Elite classes get into like dragon warriors and all that kind of stuff. They're not as important to this video. Just know they exist, and you can class into them as you level up. The next thing that your character will be doing is he's going to be purchasing skills and talents. Your skills and talents are going to be based on your class. They're going to get what's called an elite tree. They use skill and talent trees in this game. You're going to get an elite tree that applies only to that class that you can buy from. At creation, you can only buy rank 1 talents and rank 1 skills. That being said, you cannot save any of the points you get. They must be spent at creation, however. So if you build a character, you're building a character, know that you have to, so to get 12 skill points, and skill points also spend on talents. They call them skill points, but they also apply to talents. You have to spend all 12. The next to last step is, of course, going to be you're going to calculate your starting traits. This is where you're going to get your final durability, health, vigor, mana. Everything will affect this kind of stuff. From the talents you choose, all of that stuff is going to affect your core stat line, your final stat line. So, and then of course, the last thing you do is you're going to get your equipment and any miscellaneous things you have to do, such as building your background and all that kind of stuff. So, that being said, so there's tons of different information in this book on the backgrounds, cover a lot of different information. And like I said, let me see, I'm going to count here real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sorry, there was 12, not 8. There's 12 starting backgrounds you can choose from. And again, if you played the East games, you know these things, everything. You can play everybody from the Alpans to the Hispanians to the Zondrian race or background. The stat build out on them is pretty good. It tells you everything you know. So, for example, I'm looking here at the Alpan. It tells you your stamina. You select your stamina or resolve. Your hardy upbringing has hard. You add 1d8 to your selected ability score. And then it tells you how to calculate your starting health for that race. So, again, at first level for an Alpin, you're going to be equal to your initial stamina score plus a d8, and then add a d8 at level 2 in each level thereafter. Your durability, starting durability, is determined by your background. Your vigor is going to be determined there. That's how your mana. And then any special abilities they get. So it's pretty simplistic. The next part, of course, for this is going to be, so I'm trying to get where I can actually bring it up for you, is going to be your classes. Classes in this game, like I said, your basic classes are going to be uh, are going to be thief, fighter. Uh, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes you can choose from. They are apprentice, brawler, herbalist, hunter, poet, priest, scholar, swordsman, thief, warrior. So, uh, and again, each of them is going to be different. It's going to go in. I'll just pull one of all. Well, let's go to scholar. What the heck? Let me make it bigger. I can't read it at its current size. Um, it's going to tell you any requirements you have in order to become that class. So, for example, the scholar requires a memory and reason score of 15. Um, if this is your first class, you automatically increase those ability scores to 15, which is also another unique thing to character creation. If you want to take a class, you automatically take the class, and it boosts your starting attributes for the requirements to that minimum. So even if you wouldn't otherwise qualify, you still qualify. Okay, very awesome. And you have to have the studious talent from the studies academic tree and transmute from the alchemy academic skill tree. And at level 1, you must spend 2 of your starting skill points on those skill talents. So pretty simplistic in how it describes. It gives you the outlook of them, what they actually are, how they kind of fit into the game. It gives you a good analysis of what they are. So to give you an example, the scholar talks about it being its maximum durability compared to your own lower, although the same, higher, much higher. It allows you to gain understanding uh, of your enemy. So you can analyze them, you can experiment, you get scholar's aptitude. This class will start with 12 skill points. And then, like I said, you get an advanced skill tree that's called an elite skill tree that's specific to your class. In the case of the scholar, it gets what's called analytical mind. Um, and then it goes in and it describes all the different talents for uh, that skill tree. I'm not going to get into all the different things, but just as an example, one of the ones you get, uh, you can purchase is called resistance up. You gain a +1 bonus die on all resistance checks. So that's an example of a talent that you can buy later on. That is a much more advanced talent. That looks like that is a rank 4 talent. So as far as classes go, that's how classes are handled. Classes are very generic, uh, for lack of a better way of putting it. And then uh, you're going to wind up with, of course, you've got your details, your name, your parents, all that kind of stuff, including your temperament. Uh, Temperament can be things like studious, all that kind of stuff. You basically create your own temperaments. Skills, uh, again, skills are kind of split into skills and talents. Uh, Skills, every rank you have in it will give you a bonus die to the roll. So you can use skills without those bonus dice. It's just going to be a lot harder to succeed at them. Some of them are unusable without skill points, of course. Learning languages, there's whole rules for learning languages, whole timetables and stuff you have to follow, and all of that. And then character advancement in this game, again, kind of a standard fantasy advancement system using experience. So as you gain experience, you gain levels. And as you gain levels, you're going to gain new skill points. You're going to gain more health, durability, vigor, mana. There are no limits to levels you can achieve, but you don't have to. And then as you progress, you can add additional classes by purchasing a class training talent with a skill point. To add a class, you must meet the ability and skill requirements. You only gain one of your new class's talents when you add that class, and you must spend pro skill points if you were to choose the warrior class training at level 3. Junior class. For example, if you were to choose the warrior training at level 3, you would select one from the warrior's combat hardening, combat training, or weapon arts talent. Just like your first class, you can spend skill points on the skill tree to develop unique talents and gain bonuses. You won't be able to do the other class until you learn all the class talents from your previous new class. So basically, it's going to take at least 3 levels in a class before you can, 3 or 4 levels in a class before you can get into it. Um, the other really cool thing you get to do in this game, you can accomplish deeds. Um, Deeds are epic scale events that you finish off. So, for example, you can gain the deed Adventurer's Valor. It's a heroic deed. Uh, the condition is you rescue a person of renown from dire peril at the Adventurers Guild's behest. So the first step is you successfully complete the guild rescue mission with no casualties. You complete the mission with the same party. You have 3 bonus dice burst on a single social check when interacting with the rescue person or their allies. And then at the end, it will grant you a perk. So in this case, you gain a charge on all social checks when interacting with the Adventurers Guild personnel and sympathizers as your heroic reputation precedes you. So, and there's a list of different deeds, and you can come up with new deeds as well. Your GM can come up with deeds, but there's a pretty detailed list of deeds. Then we're just real quick getting into the actual system itself a little bit. So this system uses what's called challenges and charges. A charge will upgrade the size of the die that you roll as a bonus die. So all bonus dice start as D10s. If you go up in a level, it'll go up a die code. There is a die code on the character sheet. I'll show you the character sheet here in a second. So you will be able to track that, so you don't have to guess which die is. And then what challenges are? Challenges, you can issue a challenge yourself to a test, or they can be issued to you based on circumstance. What a challenge does is it raises the difficulty of the task. But if you succeed, just like in L5R with raises, if you succeed, you do it in some spectacular fashion. And it's a really neat little system. As far as combat goes, combat is pretty simplistic in this game. There's not a lot to it. You're going to be using your agility for pretty much all of combat. You're going to be using, you're going to be able to take reactions as well. So if somebody attacks you, you can dodge or block an attack in order to get out of the way. Otherwise, they're going to be rolling against your base defense, which is typically 15. And it's an opposed roll, so whoever rolls higher is going to win that. You take damage to your durability before you take it to your health, so it's got a dual hit point system. If you start taking health damage, you are in serious trouble. Durability is basically your ability to duck, dodge, avoid being winded, that kind of stuff, whereas the idea of health is you're starting to actually get wounded. You're starting to take serious wounds. You can be winded, which causes a penalty to all of your rolls. And then death happens if you have 0 hit points after a certain period of time. If you do not receive a stabilization, you will permanently die. And then the last part of it, of course, you get into movement traits and all that. I'm not going to get too deep into that. Tells you how to calculate your movement speeds, overland, all of that. Rest and recovery is important in this game because rest takes a long time. You only recover 10 health at a time for each full day rested, and you recover durability and everything differently, of course, but you can be out of action for a while. It has full rules for how to use downtime in this game, which I really appreciate. Trying to find it here so I can. Where is downtime? Where's that? I'm trying to find it here. Sorry, guys. It's in the downtime can be split into a couple of different things that you do using your downtime. Here it is. Sorry about that, guys. You can practice a trade, so you can apply a skill or a talent you have to make money, to build items, things like that, which is pretty nice. The difficulty of it is going to depend on what you're building. Unless you otherwise specify, it's going to be of ordinary quality. Which gets into the weapon system because you can have different qualities of weapons. You can research information as well. Research allows you to learn about like academic subjects or spells or techniques that you may not know already. Again, full set of rules in here for that. I'm not going to get too deep into it. You can train. Training, there is a time frame for it. Each time you successfully train, you gain 10 XP per level of experience you have, and you can do that up to twice per month. So, uh, learning an ability requires 10 hours of the master, yada yada. If trying to learn a spell or technique that you don't have access to normally, it takes longer. And then the last thing you do is you can work. So basically, you can go work on a farm or whatever. There are different things you can do. So that, in a nutshell, is Ys, Age of Heroes. Hopefully, I've given you a good overview of it. Real quick before though we get off, I just do want to show you the character sheet, so you guys can see what this looks like. Like I said, it's going to be kind of little awkward when you look at the sheet because it looks very complicated, but it's really not. Over there on the left, you see the ability scores with any bonus dice they have, the levels, all that kind of stuff. And then right here is what I was talking about the actual dice box. So you start at heroic. If you get one charge, it becomes epic. You get 2 charges, it becomes legendary. Pretty simple die step system. I'm not going to delve into that too much more. But the die step system in this game is pretty cool because it affects the bonus dice you get, which can make it easier or harder to succeed. Right here, like I said, you can see durability and health, vigor and mana. Because this is an apprentice, they're going to have a butt ton of mana. And then you start with 2 actions in every combat that can be raised by using talents. And then, like I said, you get your guard, which is your base defense. You've got your reactions there. Like I said, you can dodge, you can deflect, and you can block. It's pretty simple. Armor in this game reduces damage. So if they see they're wearing Sorcerer's Robe, it's armor rank 3 with 15 durability. If you successfully block damage, it does come off your armor's durability. So your armor can get torn up in this game. Weapons, super simple to read. Tells you what your attack bonuses are, the damage for it, any special abilities, again, features and ammo that it may need. And then you get into the class talents and all of that. Class skills and talents, special abilities table right there. That's where you're going to write in anything you've earned from that. And then they give you the skills and talent section. Again, looks very complicated. There's a lot of, oh my God, there's a lot there. Not really all that complicated. And you don't really have a ton of skills in this game. Generally speaking, you want to focus on talents. And it tells you what type of skill it is. And then this is the character sheet for your background, your gold, your valuables. It tells you any deeds that you've accomplished can be written on this sheet. It's got your inventory, and then the last page of the sheet is for any techniques any spells any animals or rides you have, any vehicles or anything like that will be reported on that sheet. So, like I said, guys, looking at the sheet, it looks very complicated. The game itself is not very complicated at all. So, that being said, guys, I really encourage you to check this game out. Promethean Games has done a good job really putting it together. There's definitely some good in there, some bad in there. It does have some things. It references things and then doesn't really clarify them very well sometimes. You kind of have to bounce around a little bit in the book to pull all the information together, but it's worth it. It reads very easily. It does not read like a tech manual, which if you're an old school gamer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It reads very smooth, very clean. Downside to this book is a little pricey. PDF is going for $30 on drive-through right now. It is available in hard copy from Amazon and Barnes & Noble at about $55 a piece. Comes in, I believe, at right around 300 pages. And it does a pretty good job, like I said, of really outlining everything in the game. So if you're looking for a video game based kind of JRPG based game, you won't go wrong with this one. You really won't, especially if you're a fan of these series. So that being said, guys, as always, welcome thoughts, comments, questions, concerns below. As always, follow the 3 rules, and we hope you guys have